precision and the statistical noise. So we want to try to reduce as much of the statistical noise as we can while giving us a lot of detail about the distribution itself so that we can see things like skewness. Okay, any questions here? You all want to do this? That's not the rousing enthusiasm I'm looking for. So we're going to run through an exercise. We're going to make histograms in Excel, and then we're going to make them in Python. As always, this is a collaborative room, so if you're running into issues, someone else next to you may be as well. So be helpful when you can. And if you're running into issues, don't hesitate to reach out to the people around you who are potentially able to offer you some help. So the first thing we're going to do is actually, instead of working with the entire data set, what I want to do is look at customers below the income of $40,000 per year. So we have income data, and instead of looking at everyone, which we've already done, let's look at a subset of the population. So what I've done is given you okay, so third issue today, I've included the entire data set here. In Excel, we're going to create the histogram from the entire data set, but then we're going to try to answer the subset question in Python, which will have the subset for the customers under $40,000. So the first thing we're going to do is create a histogram in Excel. So if you go to exercise 1.2 and click on Starbucks profile data, this will download for you the Starbucks profiles. Okay, and then I'm going to, so I've downloaded this data set into my downloads folder. And what I'm going to do is move that over to my desktop. So I have, a class folder, and I have our nice folders in the class folder. I'm just going to create a new one for part 1.2, just to keep things organized. And then I'm going to take Starbucks customer profiles and then just drag this over into the nice folder that we've created. I'm going to stress this every time we do this. Keeping your data set organized will save you a lot of hassle later on. You can see already we have 3 exercises we've done. If we just placed all of our data into the downloads folder, it would be very easy to lose track of what we've done and where we've done it. Okay, so what we're going to do first is just open the CSV file in Excel. And a couple of people came to me about double-clicking on a CSV file and it not opening in Excel. Depending on your operating system, you'll have to change the default app when you open a file. If you're on Mac, it may default to using Numbers, which is the default, much worse version of Excel. So you'd have to go into settings and change the default app so that when you double click on it, it will open in Excel. If you don't want to do that, you can right click on the file itself and go to open with, and then in this list, it'll give you different options for which app to open. And you'll be able to click on Excel. And I think Windows has a similar problem, except Windows doesn't force you into using Numbers, which is nice. I think it will default to using Excel, but it's been a while since I've used a Windows computer. So once you've opened the data set, you'll have it here. And then you just want to save this as a Excel workbook. So you'll click Save As, either in the banner, or if you don't have a banner, you can go up here to File and then Save As. and then you save it as an Excel workbook, and save it just in the same folder as the original data set. Click Save, and then we are off to the races. All right. Any questions here? Very nice. So the first thing we're going to do is create a histogram of customers by age. So the first thing we're going to do is just select the age column, and we're going to go up to Insert. So on the upper bar here, we can click Insert. Everyone on board so far? How many of you have a nice file system already set up? Oh, that is not nearly enough people. I pretty much need this from everyone. Set up a nice file system. It will save you a lot of hassle. How many of you have Excel set up as your default app for opening CSV files? Nice, that's a little better. And how many of you have selected column C? Nice. So anyone know what we do next? Let's go up to Insert, and then we're going to run over here to our visualizations. And you can see we have this one here, which is, I don't know if you could read that, but it says statistical. If you hover over it, it says statistical. If you click on it, it will bring up the different options here. And the one we're after is histogram. So I'm just going to click on this. And Excel, in this case, is pretty simple. It's just going to create a histogram with automatically created bin sizes on the horizontal axis. And it's going to just bin all of the observations in our data set. And you can see there's a huge number of observations here. In terms of like economic data, this is actually not that big, 14,000. But I think the first time you see a data set like this, it may look big. It's much larger than what we had last time. Okay, so here we have our histogram. Anyone notice a problem? Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's true, but the ages are decimal.
Oh yeah, so yeah, I think the default way Excel shows the x-axis for histograms is pretty bad. These are not, it's a little hard to see here, but this is 18 to 20.5. Weird. It's like a weird setup. And then it's pretty difficult to read this. You have to like tilt your head. So we're going to do a little bit better, particularly in Python. So maybe the bin sizes, the bin widths are a little bit weird. What else? Oh, remind me of your name. Sabi. Yeah, Ruby. Yeah, so there's a lot of noise here. And you can see kind of why that's true. The bins are about 2.5 wide. So maybe we want to increase the bin sizes. What else? Well, I'm going to change the title. So you double click on the chart title, and then you can select the text. I'm going to say Starbucks customers by age group. Okay. Anyone know how we change the bin sizes? Sometimes Excel is simple. Sometimes it's very complicated. Here it's pretty simple. Just double click on the bins themselves, and it will bring up some options for you. So here we have auto bins. And what I want to do is select bin width. So I just want bins of 5 years. So I'm going to select bin width and then set it equal to 5 and hit enter. We see some options here. There's an overflow bin. the underflow bin, if we set this to 15, that's not doing anything. You can also change number of bins if you like, but there's a lot you can do here. If I wanted to start this at 20 instead of 18, I'm sure there's a way to do it, but I don't work with Excel enough to really be super proficient with how to change the starting bin. Some of you may be more proficient with setting bin widths and intervals and all of those things. These things are much easier to do in Python. But this is generally how you would create a figure like this in Excel. These are the basics. You can do this pretty easily. Any questions here? And I think Excel figures generally look pretty good. Like, I think this is a pretty good figure. It's not as good as the ones I have in the slides, I think, except for that first one, the terrible one. But this is, I think, pretty good. Some other things you might want to do, you could get rid of the horizontal lines if you like. It makes it a little bit harder to find the actual numbers, but I think it makes it less cluttered. But that's a personal preference. Then the last thing we want to do, and particularly for the purpose of submitting work to Gradescope, or if you're including your figures in slides, or any sort of any external purpose outside of Excel, one thing we often do is save these figures as images. Anyone know how to do that? Okay, so this is pretty straightforward here as well. I'm just going to right-click on the figure and drop down. There's an option that says Save as Picture. I would recommend using a naming convention for your save, for your figures when you save them. So I'm going to put the figure in the same folder as the data set. And we're in part 1.2. So I'm going to call this exercise. And it's difficult to save with dots. You might be able to, but I like to use underscores just to keep things clean. Exercise 1 underscore 2, so like 1.2. And then this is the first figure we're saving from this exercise. So I'm going to call it exercise underscore 1 underscore 2 underscore 1. So it's 1.2 exercise figure 1. But you can save this however you like. This is just the way I would do it. And when I hit save, then I'm going to have this figure as an image file in my folder. And I can open it. Oh, whoops. Where'd that come from? Maybe we'll move this over a little bit. So now you can see so now you can see a nice picture of customers by age group. All right, any questions here? And then this is something you can submit to Gradescope, or you can put in your slides when you're presenting your final project at the end of the semester. It's a really powerful tool. All right, any questions? Okay, a little distracting. So let's save this. We're going to do a very similar thing in Python, except it's going to be a little bit quicker. And we're going to have much more control over the bins. So what you can do is go to economic data analysis and then click on the notebook, which will bring up Google Colab. And you can just do all your imports, run the beginning. And then we're going to look at specifically customers at or below $40,000 of income. So we'll run customers. And we can just print the data set here. and just check that it looks the way we expect it to. Okay. All right, how many of you have opened this data set and have loaded the data set in Colab? Hands up. Okay, and the rest of you are getting started? Is that a question? All right. So, I've included code in my slides. I do this so that you don't have to guess. When I post the slides, I'll often post a PDF of the slides if you want to print them out. But I also have interactive slides, which will just open in the browser, which allows you to go up here and copy the code. So I'm just going to click copy, and I'm going to run over to this cell and enter this code. And I want to talk through some of the bits about this. I'm going to start by getting rid of the bins. So this is just a basic histogram. We just have Seaborne creating a histogram, what Seaborne calls a hist plot. We tell it to use the dataset customers. And then on the horizontal axis, we're asking it to bin on ages. So if I run this, I get a histogram that looks like this. You can see the bins are fine, but they aren't in 5-year intervals. How many of you have this figure? If you don't have this figure, maybe just check with someone next to you. Any questions at this point? So I've given a little bit of extra code here. And I just want to talk through what this range is doing. Python has a really easy way of creating lists of numbers. And what I want for my figure is to have bins of width 5 starting at age 20. So I want age 20, and then I'm going to have it go all the way up to age 100. And I want intervals of 5. So if I run this, this is going to give me a nice list with that structure. Okay, that's not a nice list. This range is just giving me a list of 20, 25, all the way up to 95. And this is really nice because I don't have to write out all the bins. I can just say, create bins from this list. And then if I want Seaborne to make a histogram using those bins, I just have to give it another option. You may start writing bins and then have Gemini predict what you're about to write. But I'm just going to write this in for myself. So I'm creating bins with 5-year intervals, starting at the number that I want, which is 20. And when I run this, I have my nice bins how I would expect them. So we have 20 to 25, 25 to 30, 30 to 35, and so on. Any questions here? Can I get an honest poll? How many of you feel a little bit intimidated by this code? A lot of people. Look around. Hold your hands high and look around. You're in good company. These kinds of things will start to feel more familiar. We're in like week 2. The writing of the hist plot will become much more familiar. The way we interact with these kinds of options in histograms will also become more familiar. But you're in week 2 and like day 3 of doing this, so feeling a little bit nervous about this is very reasonable. Okay, but you can probably reproduce this, right? Like you can recreate these figures. Okay. So nice. So we have a nice histogram showing the distribution of ages. Someone contrast this with our earlier figure, the one we created in Excel. How does it look different? How does this look different? Yeah, Alexis.
It's a lot more concentrated at the younger end since we're looking at a lower income.
Okay. So yeah, generally, the younger you are, the lower your income, just less established in your career. What else? Yes. Say that again. There's no title. Yeah, so we can fix that. What else? Yeah, Ruby. Yeah, so this one is a little bit more concentrated in the middle of ages. I wouldn't say this is normally distributed, but it has that kind of like bell general shape to it. Yes. Yeah, what else? Chase?
I'd say this new one's like skewed to the right.
Okay. Yeah, so there's like a concentration around lower ages, and you don't see a lot of Starbucks customers under $40,000 of income that are above 70, which is pretty interesting. Yeah. Another thing you might notice is that it's maybe a little noisier. There are more jagged bars, especially around these upper ages. There's a lot more variability between age groups. And the reason is because there are fewer people in the $40,000 income group and below than in the entire data set. The entire data set actually has more customers, simply because we have more age groups. So the second data set is actually a subset of our first one with less data. So there's more noise. All right. So another thing we might want to do is save this figure. And I've included some code to do that. So I'm just going to copy this and then jump back over to the cell here. And what I'm going to do is just have matplotlib save this figure. So I'm telling it exactly what to do. And I'm going to call this exercise 1.2 figure. Let's call this figure 2. And when I run this, it will save this as a figure in Google Drive. At least it should. Are you seeing the figure in your folder? No? Huh. So the other way we can save this, that should save. I'm not sure why it's not. I'll post an announcement about how to do that. The other thing you can do is just save the image to your computer. So this is the way you'll probably do this for your homework. And then, so for me, I'm going to save it to our folder. And maybe we'll call this exercise 122.png. PNG is just a standard file format, standard image format. So I just right-clicked, and then it gave me the option to save it. And then you'll see it here. Okay. And then a bunch of other things you can do. I think this is a really nice figure, but you should give it a title. So you can ask Gemini, actually, give this a title, and it will give you a recommendation, and then you can change this if you like. So Starbucks customers by age, and then run this, and then we'll save this. And we can just rewrite over this. And then you can just upload this to Gradescope. Any questions here? So these are some new steps. You're going to become familiar with how to work with these steps as we go through the semester. A month from now, this will feel like something you could do in your sleep. These kinds of things don't come naturally to anyone. The way they feel familiar is by doing them over and over again. And so in the next couple of homeworks, 1.1 and 1.2, I think I ask you to do it maybe 4 or 5 times. So just get some practice, and you'll become familiar with this. What's that doing there? Okay. Have I told you I just had a baby? All right, so this is one kind of summary of a numerical variable, but there are others. I'm going to show you probably the second one that you should go to most common. How many of you have heard of a box plot? Yeah, nice. Very common. If you haven't, I'm about to show you what they look like and how to read them. So another kind of data set we could be looking at is data from coffee importing countries on